sir. Devasagayan sir, can you switch on your video?
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't see your video. Devasagayan sir, are you able to hear me? Hello. Devasagayan sir, are you able to hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Devasagayan sir, I am able to hear you. So maybe
When is it
you need
done?
to switch on. No,
When
no,
is it
we
joining?
can. No, we can talk. Maybe can you switch on your video?
You start the conversation. I said you can join.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Let us
Go.
start. Let's start the conversation. This is Shanmughavel Shankaran from Indian Overseas Congress. Today we are having Mr. N.G. Devasahayam, former IAS officer. He is part of the Citizens Commission for Election. Today we are going to have a quick interaction with him and Advocate Mahmood Pracha on the resignation of the Indian Election Commissioner. Without much ado, I'll hand it over to NG Devasayam. What is your opinion on this recent resignation, sir?
I really do not know what has happened to Arun Goyal. He has resigned all of a sudden, and very quickly the resignation has been accepted. We really do not know the reasons, but my information from inside sources say that he has been under a lot of tension in the last few days. I don't know what tension that has been, because a lot of issues have cropped up about the integrity of the election commission in the last few months, and people have even gone to the extent of going to the streets, hitting the streets, questioning the integrity of the Election Commission of India for conducting the free and fair election, and their total kind of opaque nature, and they're not meeting anybody, not conceding to any demand, giving no indication that the elections are going to be free and fair. Instead, they gave they gave a kind of impression they are subservient to the ruling party and the government of the day. So this has been going on. Several instances have been there. The EVM issue has been there. Actual bond issue has been there. Then the model code of conduct issue has been there, and there has been a lot of issues. And one really does not know on what basis why he has resigned. But the fact remains that with the resignation of Arun Goyal, with only the chief election commissioner now left in the election commission, the commission has collapsed. The commission has collapsed. And I really do not know whether they will have the legal authority to conduct the elections. I'll tell you the reasons why. I have gone through the recently enacted Act, Chief Election Commissioners and the Election Commissioners Appointment Act, which has pushed through. Section 3 very clearly says the Election Commission shall comprise of Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners as President of India deems fit. The wording must be very important. Election Commission shall, the word is shall consist of the Chief Election Commissioner and other such election commissioners as the President of India deems fit. So, Election Commission has to have Chief Election Commissioner and commissioners, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, as the President of India may deem fit. So the question is, in February, Pandey, the election commissioner, retired, and one vacancy was there. Now there were two people. Now Arun Goyal has retired. That makes it only chief election commissioner. The biggest question now is the election commission, does it exist now? And is this election commissioner competent enough to conduct the elections, which is supposed to have been notified by now, because 2019 the election was notified on the 10th of the month. Today is the 10th. And in any case, this week, election has to be notified. So, resignation of Arun Goyal, we do not know the reasons. We'll come to know the next maybe few hours. Information will come to us certainly. But it puts the entire electoral process in peril because of the Section 3. And now, in the next few days, as far as selection of his successors are concerned, the new election commissioners are concerned, the law is completely hostile to democratic interests. The entire power is with the Prime Minister and one of the ministers appointed by him. The selection committee is headed by the Law Minister, who works under the Prime Minister. The selection, not the selection committee, the screening committee. The selection committee is headed by the Prime Minister with one minister under him and the so-called leader of the opposition. Then Section 8 also says they can pick up anybody. The panel need not be a part of the panel which has been prepared by the law minister and others. So now the situation is such that the election commission has completely lost its credibility, and I feel that we have a lawyer here; he will be able to contribute. But I think they have also lost the legal sanction to conduct the election. That's my preliminary opinion. I will come back to you later.
Thank you, Devasahayamji. Thanks, Mahmood Pracha, for joining on a short notice. I think you have been on the road along with a lot of other EVM activists, and you have been championing along with Prashant Bhushan, Bhanupratap Mehta, a lot of other bold voices of India. I think we are very glad that some of your voice, I think we lost Mahmood Pracha. So we'll wait for him to join. But where do you think this is heading, MG Devasayam? So what may be the kind of next things which can happen with respect to how this particular this current government may take, if you think?
No, this is a major crisis. This is a very major crisis. I don't know how as I told you, the election commission has collapsed. Functus officio. Section 3, I mentioned to you very clearly. Because Mr. Pracha has joined now. Section 3 very clearly says the election commission shall comprise of the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners as the president of India deems fit. The two, so there is no other election commissioner now, only the chief election commissioner. So it becomes an illegal body. That's my interpretation. So
Thank you.
we are into a major crisis. Election should have been notified by now, and I don't know how they are going to handle this. We'll have to wait and see.
Sure. I think looks like Mahmood Pracha's line is little flaky. But do you think one single election commissioner will be able to drive an election for this large country? Whether in the past, since our independence, whether it has happened, elections are conducted under one single election commissioner?
That is not the problem at all. Election till the time of TN session, we are only one election commissioner, only chief election commissioner. Only during session's time, since he was hyperactive, they brought in two other people, Mr. Gill and Mr. Krishnamurthy. So election is not conducted by the election commissioners or chief election commissioner. It's the election commission, the chief electoral officers, and down to the district electoral officers, returning officers. It is a huge army of IAS officers. They conduct the elections. But here is I'm mentioning Section 3 of the Act. The Election Commission should have more than one member. That is the problem now. That is the crisis that has been created by Arun Goyal's resignation.
Without much ado, I'll go to Mahmood Pracha. Mahmood, what are your thoughts about this resignation of the election commissioner?
Well, I would slightly want to disagree in a very positive way with Deva Shayamji, who I respect very much. And he's a crusader who's led this battle from the front, from the day one. But in a slightly humorous manner, I would like to say that the credibility of Election Commission with this resignation has actually slightly increased. That people who have been chosen, and see under what circumstances Mr. Goel was selected, I would say, or planted, if not planted would be a better word, but I'm not using it right now. Uh, After, in a way, overruling the Supreme Court judgment. So he was one of the most trusted persons of Mr. Modi ji or Mr. Amit Shah or Mohan Bhagwat ji, take your pick. But even he, either he got scared by the implications in which he was getting himself entangled with, especially with the EVM being a totally criminal act and anti-constitutional act, use of EVMs. So maybe the pressure got too high on him. We can only make guesses right now, or maybe the demands of Mr. Modi and Amit Shah were too much for him to handle. So that is a positive sign, and it should pave out the way not only for the only left. I will, if the only election commissioner now, the chief election commissioner, to rise up to the occasion and resign himself. This is a way forward, and this should be actually a way forward for director CBI, director ED, the head of the NIA, income tax, and all these agencies which are being used as a tool of repression against opposition leaders and dissenters in the country. So this should be a very. I am very excited that the Mr. Goel has actually submitted to the will of the people, however bad or good that may be. But as Devashayam Saab was rightly saying that now there is a constitutional crisis because election commission, constitutional, it is a constitutional body. It may be the formatting, maybe the creation of an act of parliament, that is representation of people's act, but it is a constitutional body handed out, a constitutional job by the constitution itself, then that is holding elections on behalf of people of India, nobody else. And they have to be appointed by nobody else but by the people of India. And the safest method would be a very neutral, transparent appointment by way of involvement of, as the Chief Justice, the leader of opposition, one member from one party, and ultimately major parties, I would say, or some methodology can be formulated. But ultimately, the control should remain with President of India, and that too without the advice of Home Ministry, as it usually happens. President usually acts on the advice on the administrative matters, on the advice of the cabinet through Home Minister. That should also not happen while choosing election commission and while conduction of elections by election commission. That is the ideal way which the constitution envisages, and we are losing sight. These CEOs, chief electoral officers of every state, they are also holding a kind of constitutional responsibility and post. They should be equally answerable to opposition parties, all the candidates, not just the opposition parties, all the candidates contesting elections, and they should be less answerable to make things transparent and equitable to the ruling party in whichever state they are holding elections. That is the spirit of constitution. If this is not followed, then election tends to extend towards a sham, which presently is being. This election will be nakedly sham if it is held by EVM. But luckily, as I have been pointing out, Section 61, capital A, clearly mandates that elections have to be held by way of paper ballots, and EVMs can be used only as a way of exception, that too in selected constituencies if the election commission is able to give a justifiable reason for use of EVM. That is the scheme of things of Representation of People's Act even today. And now this thing, some people are saying that now it will be a crisis. Modi ji would want to extend his tenure. I mean, people of India are awakened now. There are protests outside the Supreme Court of India, Election Commission of India, Mr. Prime Minister's office. There are protests. They are brutally stopping these protests by the use of police force, misuse of police force, I will say. But there are protests outside Supreme Court. There will be a protest on 11th also outside Supreme Court when there will be hearing by the lawyers just to stand by the Supreme Court to maintain independence of judiciary. Lawyers are going to stand out Supreme Court in large numbers on 11th. So that people's power is now becoming apparent, and I think this is a biggest victory of late in these troubled times and slightly doomy times. This is one of the best news we could have had, and this is the result of the mass protests which are happening across the country, which is not being reported by the criminal media, as I call them, which prefers to call itself as mainstream media. These are my first thoughts, and if you want, I can. I don't want to burden your viewers. I have brought this book. I can cite sections after sections, but I don't want to burden your viewers with the nitty gritties of sections and all. But I wanted to give a broader picture, and people should realize they should come out more on streets. It
Sure.
is the time of saving India. Everybody should be on
Ma-
streets.
Mahmood, can
I,
you, for the Hindi speaking audience, go ahead, Devasahayam.
Shankaran, I have a clarification to seek from
Yeah, yeah,
Mr.
please.
Pracha as a lawyer, as a senior and eminent lawyer. All right. The question is about EVM, electoral bond, everything is all right. The issues are absolutely burning, and you people are leading the show. But the question now is today is 10th of March. The maximum extension of time by which election commission has to notify the next election is 15th. That is the end of this week. That's all. Just a week maximum. Otherwise, they will be running out of time. They will not be able to complete the process by the end of May, which is a must because the tenure of the parliament ends in the first week of June. Now, with this resignation of Arun Goyal, the election commission has become functus officio. Section 3 of the Chief Election Commissioners and Election Commissioners Act, it is mandatory that it must be a multi-member commission. So now you tell us, this constitutional crisis, can the elections proceed? If the elections to proceed, what all needs to be done?
What all will be done, I can tell you, knowing Mr. Modi and RSS and BJP. They will very soon appoint, I think, Mr. Amit Shah, if as the one of the members of Election Commission, and other Miss Smriti Irani, because their choice of people is very restricted now after this Mr. Goel's resignation, because he was also a very trusted person who was selected personally by Modi ji. So that is the choice they have. So they will do something like this only. I mean, this was on a lighter note, but they will appoint within a day or two.
Lighter load nahi hai, because that's what very, very important point.
Because I
Section,
think nobody apart from these two will be able to save Modi ji.
Section 8(2) provides for this. See, if you look at the Act, Chief Election Commissioners
Yes.
Election Act, Section 6 provides for a selection committee.
Yes,
A
it
panel.
does, and
Section
that
7.
has been.
Section
Yes.
7 is the selection committee headed by the Prime Minister and the Law Minister. Section
And leader
8(2).
of the opposition. So what?
No.
See,
The point I am making, Section 8(2), they can go outside the panel and pick up anybody.
Yes.
Smita Irani is absolutely competent. See, the qualification is
No.
he
I
or
totally
she
agree
has
with
to
you.
be.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
No, let me
And that's why I was.
this for the viewer. This is a very important point.
So
They have manipulated the section in such a manner. Smriti Irani can be elected as the Chief Election Commissioner. because the qualification is the person should be of the rank of the Secretary to the Government of India and experience in election management. So she
Who
is
better than
competent.
Mr. Amit Shah?
She is qualified.
Who, who better than Mr. Amit Shah?
So,
No,
Mahmood
Smriti
Pracha.
Irani is qualified.
That is
So,
exactly what I was saying. They can appoint anyone, and they will appoint anyone. I mean, for a
will
start, they would probably choose one retired IAS officer or a sitting IAS officer, serving IAS officer. But basically, the idea is this: the very fact that the Supreme Court was of the view, and see, neutrality. As I said in my opening remarks, also neutrality of elections, not just the neutrality, but the perception of neutrality, is the crux of any election, much less or much more for mother of democracy, the largest democracy. We are an ideal. We are an example to the rest of the world. And what example are we setting? It is a constitutional crisis. It is a crisis which the country is facing. And I'm hoping that people of India will rise, and they are rising. So the idea was to restrict the ruling party. That exactly is the idea of appointment of neutral, and that exactly is the idea of moral code of conduct. When election commission becomes the most powerful person, the entire scheme is that, and that only, that the ruling party has to be restricted, they have to be contained, they are to be stopped from misusing the powers. And that is why it is the CEOs and the other election officers are appointed in consultation with the state governments. The CEOs of every state is to be appointed by the election commission in consultation with the state governments. That is what the scheme of the act is, 1951 Representation of People's Act. So these are some very important points, and that creates a balance in not just in favor of a ruling party at the center, but also because there will be multiple parties in different states ruling, so there will be a balance of uh, one party not dominating the election scenario. That is the scheme. Yes, sorry.
Mahmood Pracha, no, I have one ask actually. There is a lot of Hindi speaking audience who are also joining on the line. So, in case if kind of context on Hindi, maybe
Sorry.
that also may be helpful.
I'm so sorry. My
No.
my bad. देखिए, मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि इलेक्शन जो है संवैधानिक एक व्यवस्था है, और इलेक्शन इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है वो एक तरह से जनता का नौकर है, जो जिसका सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्य ये है कि वो इलेक्शन को ऐसे कंडक्ट कराए कि रूलिंग पार्टी जो है कहीं भी वो उसमें अपना दबदबा, सरकारी दबाव, पुलिस प्रशासन का दबाव इस्तेमाल ना कर सके। इसीलिए मॉरल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट लगता है जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर, चीफ मिनिस्टर्स की भी ताकत जो है शिथिल हो जाती है और वो इलेक्शन कमीशन के सामने झुक जाती है। ये सिर्फ वो टाइम होता है जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर की भी पावर जो है इलेक्शन कमीशन से कम हो जाती है। यही एक वो टाइम है इलेक्शन कराने के दौर में, और सारा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, देवाश्याम जी हैं यहाँ पर, इन्होंने तो पूरा चीजें सारी अपने हाथ से देखी भी हैं और की भी हैं कि चीफ मिनिस्टर की पावर शिथिल हो जाती है, इलेक्शन कमीशन की पावर हो जाती है, और वो उसका काम पहला ये होता है कि वो रूलिंग पार्टी को कंटेन करे। इसीलिए सारे ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग और उसके बाद अब एक ऑब्जर्वर की भी जो प्रावधान बनाया गया है कि एक ऑब्जर्वर बाहर की स्टेट से आएगा, कि अगर कोई अधिकारी जो कि चीफ इलेक्शन ऑफिसर है या किसी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर भी है, उसके ऊपर भी ऑब्जर्वर भी लाया जाता है बाहर की स्टेट से। ये सब किस लिए है? कि किसी भी प्रकार से रूलिंग पार्टी मिसयूज ना कर सके। ये है हमारे संविधानिक निजाम। और इलेक्शन कमीशन को अपॉइंट करने का देवाश्याम जी ने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से वो बात एक्सप्लेन की है। इलेक्शन कमिश्नर को बनाने के लिए तीनों एक तो पहले एक होता था, उसको 3 किया गया। किस लिए? क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की एक नहीं दर्जनों जजमेंट्स हैं कि अगर एक आदमी होगा, और ये चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया के लिए भी जजमेंट में ये साफ तौर पे लिखा है, कोलिजियम सिस्टम भी इसी बुनियाद पे है कि एक आदमी से बेहतर अगर ज्यादा लोग एक डिसीजन को लेंगे तो वो बेहतर होगा, ज्यादा डेमोक्रेटिक होगा, ज्यादा इंसाफ से भरा हुआ होगा। तो 3 इलेक्शन कमिश्नर्स भी, और ये सब आपस में बराबर हैं। ये नहीं है कि चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर की कोई पावर ज्यादा है, ही इज वन अमंग्स द इक्वल, यानी कि वो एक व्यक्ति है, उन तीनों में की पावर बराबर है। ये बराबर पावर भी इसलिए रखी गई है कि एक आदमी गलती करे तो दूसरा रोके, और 3 दिमाग मिलके कोई भी गलती ना होने दे, किसी भी तरीके से इलेक्शन निष्पक्ष हो। ये महत्वपूर्ण विषय हैं जो हमें समझने। उसके बाद मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट लगता है इलेक्शन कमिश्नर एक तरीके से देश का सारा प्रशासन, सारी आर्म फोर्सेस जो होती हैं, जो होम मिनिस्ट्री इलेक्शन कमीशन के डिस्पोजल पे डालती हैं कि इलेक्शन कमीशन अपॉइंट करेगा कितने जो है पुलिस के लोग, जो सेंट्रल फोर्सेस के लोग कहाँ रहेंगे, कितने फेजेस में इलेक्शन होगा सुरक्षा की व्यवस्था की वजह से। ये सारी ताकत देने का मकसद सिर्फ इतना ही है कि रूलिंग पार्टी को चेक किया जाए, वो कोई बदतमीजी ना कर सके। और इलेक्शन कराने का काम जो है ये लोगों का है, इसमें किसी सरकार की कोई रोल नहीं है। सरकार का रोल तो कम होता है और कम करना चाहिए। ये जनता का काम है, जनता अपना एक नुमाइंदा, जैसे सोसाइटी का भी इलेक्शन होता है। इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है सोसाइटी का एक, अगर एक हाउसिंग सोसाइटी का भी इलेक्शन होता है, उसमें जनता का आदमी होता है, वो जनता में से ही एक होता है, उस वोटर्स में से एक होता है जो वो सारे इलेक्शन को हैंडल करता है। इलेक्शन कमीशन भी उसी तरीके से है, और उसको रूलिंग पार्टी को दबा के रखना चाहिए, ज्यादा ध्यान देना चाहिए, ज्यादा उसको निगरानी करनी चाहिए बनिस्बत ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज की। ये भारत के का निजाम है, संवैधानिक निजाम।
Go ahead, Devasayam ji. You want to speak anything in Hindi or as a passing, summarizing thoughts? I don't want to take a lot of your time in the precious morning. Just want to have a quick interaction to know what both of you thought. I think it was a great interaction. But go ahead, in case if you want to pass any
हिंदी
summarizing thoughts,
हिंदी में
Devasayam
आई
ji.
वुड लाइक टू मैं कुछ
Yeah,
कहना
yeah, yeah.
चाहता
Please.
हूँ। तो जैसे मैंने पहले कहा था कि जो नया जो एक्ट बनाया है कि चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर और इलेक्शन कमीशन अपॉइंटमेंट एक्ट, जो अभी पिछले 3-4 महीने पहले बनाया था, सेक्शन 3 में बिल्कुल साफ लिखा हुआ है चुनाव आयोग क्या है। इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है सिर्फ चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर नहीं है, और साथ भी 2-3 इलेक्शन कमिश्नर होने चाहिए, जितना द प्रेसिडेंट चाहते हैं, राष्ट्रपति चाहते हैं। मतलब इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है मल्टी मेंबर बॉडी है, सिंगल मेंबर बॉडी नहीं है। तो फरवरी महीने में, इस पिछले महीने में एक अनु पांडे जो है, जो वो रिटायर हो चुका है, तो अभी इलेक्शन कमीशन में सिर्फ 2 लोग हैं। अभी उसमें अरुण गोयल रिजाइन कर लिया है, अभी सिर्फ एक चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर है। तो इसका मतलब जो है कि ये इलेक्शन कमीशन इलेक्शन कंडक्ट कर सकता है कि नहीं। मेरे विचार में इलेक्शन ये कंडक्ट नहीं कर सकता है, बिकॉज इलेक्शन कमीशन पूरी होनी चाहिए।
अकेले नहीं कर सकता, ये बात मैं एग्री करता हूँ, अकेले नहीं कर सकता,
अकेले नहीं कर सकता। ये सवाल ये आता है कि पिछले जो इलेक्शन अगर देखा जाए, जो लास्ट डेट फॉर इश्यू नोटिफिकेशन जो आज है, आज 10 तारीख, अभी तक ये नोटिफाई नहीं हुआ है, मगर इसका हफ्ता अंदर होना चाहिए, क्योंकि मिनिमम टाइम जो लगेगा, और जो पार्लियामेंट जो है मई एंड तक फॉर्म गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म होना चाहिए। तो प्रॉब्लम है कि नेक्स्ट 3-4 दिन में ये कौन सी इलेक्शन कमीशन को कैसे खड़ा करेंगे। तो जो एक्ट जो बना है, इसलिए तो हम बोल रहे थे उस टाइम पे, जो एक्ट 3-4 महीने पहले जो राज्यसभा का थ्रू और लोकसभा का थ्रू वो जो पुश करके सारे मेंबर्स को सस्पेंड करके 150 लोगों को सस्पेंड करके एक्ट बनाया। हम ये कह रहे थे ये बहुत खतरनाक चीज चल रहा है, हिंदुस्तान का पूरा डेमोक्रेसी को खत्म कर रहे हैं। तो अभी उसका टेस्ट आ गया है। सो ये चीज अभी ये एक चीज साफ आता है, ये क्राइसिस, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस, जो एक सरकार का बनाया हुआ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस है। ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस नहीं होना चाहिए, पिछले इलेक्शंस में कभी नहीं हुआ। अभी ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस आपके सामने खड़ा हो गया है, तो ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस को कैसे सॉल्व करेंगे। ये जो एक्ट जो अभी नया जो बनाया 3-4 महीने पहले, और वो एक्ट को लागू करेंगे तो बिल्कुल डेमोक्रेसी खत्म हो जाएगा। तो मैं एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट बात करना चाहता हूँ। तो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो है वैसे हवा में नहीं आया है। इसको जो बनाया है कि इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद 48, 49, 50 वो जो बनाया, जो बहुत बहुत हिंदुस्तान का टॉप ब्रेन से, टॉप जो लीडर्स थे, उन्होंने जो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हमें दिए हैं, उस टाइम पे ये डिस्कस हुआ है इलेक्शन कमीशन क्या होना चाहिए। इलेक्शन कमीशन होता है पूरा इंडिपेंडेंट, पॉलिटिशियन का उसका रोल बिल्कुल होना नहीं चाहिए, बिल्कुल इंडिपेंडेंट होना चाहिए। इसलिए तो उसको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लाया है, आर्टिकल 324। तो अभी जो जो एक्ट आया है इसमें तो पूरा इसको पॉलिटिशियन ने नहीं चला दिया है। ये सिलेक्शन कमेटी का चेयरमैन होगा प्राइम मिनिस्टर, उसी का चुना हुआ एक मिनिस्टर होगा उसका मेंबर, और जो चीफ जस्टिस होना था उसको तो निकाल के उठा के फेंक दिया, और एक लीडर ऑफ द अपोजिशन होने चाहिए। वो तो दो हो गया, एक हो गया। स्क्रीनिंग कमेटी भी मिनिस्टर का है, सिलेक्शन कमेटी भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर का है। तो ये कहां से इंडिपेंडेंट है? ऐसे इलेक्शन कमीशन फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन कैसे कंडक्ट कर सकता है? इसलिए तो हम देख रहे हैं पिछले कुछ महीने में, मैं भी देख रहा हूँ, और प्राचार्य जी जैसे लीडर्स, एडवोकेट्स वगैरह जो वो भी देख रहे हैं कि इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है बिल्कुल मुर्दा हो गया है, मर चुका है। पिछले 5 साल से हम इलेक्शन कमीशन से डील कर रहे हैं, कोई जवाब नहीं है। हम कह रहे हैं देखो भाई, वो इलेक्शन कमीशन तो बनाया है 80 साल पहले बनाया है, 75 साल पहले बनाया है, कई चीजें हो चुका है, नया नया चीजें हो गई। ईवीएम के ये प्रॉब्लम है, इलेक्ट्रल रोल में ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये मनी पावर में ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये सारी चीज में ये प्रॉब्लम है। नया नया चीज सब रिसर्च करके उनको बोल रहे हैं इसको इम्प्रूव करो, इसको इम्प्रूव करो, इसको इम्प्रूव करो, हमें मौका दो, हमारे डिस्कस करने के लिए मौका दो। पिछले 5 साल में ये इलेक्शन कमीशन को बिल्कुल सील करके रख दिया, पिछले सील करके रख दिया है। तो मैं काफी मैं बोल रहा था कि आप लोगों को पता है कि अब घर में, हर घर में ये प्रेशर कुकर है, प्रेशर कुकर से अब ये भी अपना कुकिंग करते हैं। प्रेशर कुकर में 4 वाल्व है, वाल्व को छोड़ना चाहिए, आपको पता चाहिए। वाल्व जब छोड़ेंगे तब हवा आते, वो गैस बाहर आते रहता है, कुकिंग भी हो जाता है और काम हो जाता है। और चारों सील को अगर बंद करेंगे क्या होगा? प्रेशर कुकर तो बस्ट हो जाएगा, मुंह के ऊपर बस्ट होगा। मेरे ख्याल में वो उस टाइम में अभी आ गया है। इलेक्शन कमीशन इज बर्स्टिंग फ्रॉम विद इन, अंदर से बस्ट कर रहा है। ये बहुत खतरनाक चीज में हम आ गए। ये पता नहीं, मैं तो पहले बार देश के बारे में मुझे डर आ रहा है। इमरजेंसी में मैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट था, इमरजेंसी में मैंने मैनेज किया था। मैं इमरजेंसी में लोग काफी कहानी बात, इमरजेंसी में टाइम ये डर नहीं था, बिकॉज उसके बाद 77 में जो इलेक्शन जो हुआ है फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन था। इंदिरा गांधी प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे, वो जाति तो किए थे इमरजेंसी, बट इलेक्शन वाज फ्री एंड फेयर, इलेक्शन के ऊपर डर नहीं था। मुझे पहले बार इलेक्शन के बारे में डर आ रहा है। और हिंदुस्तान का डेमोक्रेसी कौन सी कहाँ जाएगा, कौन सी तरफ जाएगा, ये भगवान ही जाने। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you. Memoji, do you want to pass us any summarizing comments? Maybe you can continue in Hindi.
बस मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि देश की जनता अब जाग चुकी है, उसको सड़कों पे आना चाहिए। प्रेसिडेंट रूल लगना चाहिए देश में, प्रधानमंत्री जी को प्रधानमंत्री के पद पे नहीं रहने देना चाहिए फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन कराने के लिए। मेरे पास, मैं अंदाजा ही नहीं लगा रहा हूँ, कुछ लोगों ने मुझे बताया भी है कि गोयल साहब ने ईवीएम के खिलाफ नोट लिखा था। कुछ बात चली थी ऐसी कि पेपर बैलेट से चुनाव होने चाहिए, वही कानून है सेक्शन 61 कैपिटल ए, यही कहता है कि ईवीएम से नहीं पेपर बैलेट से चुनाव होने चाहिए। तो उन्होंने कुछ किया था पेपर बैलेट से चुनाव कराने के लिए देश भर में, ये भी एक वजह थी। जो लोग अभी अफवाहें फैला रहे हैं कि ये कि कुछ वेस्ट बंगाल के इलेक्शन के डेट्स के बारे में कुछ प्रॉब्लम थी, तो ये इतनी छोटी बात है डेट्स की कि इस पे कोई रिजाइन नहीं देता। कुछ बहुत फंडामेंटल हुआ होगा, जैसे देवाशायम जी ने कहा है कि अंदर से इलेक्शन कमीशन अब फट रहा है, इतना ज्यादा जुल्म हो गया है अंदर, इतना ज्यादा डिमांड्स हो गई हैं मोदी जी की और अमित शाह जी की कि वो अंदर से ही लोग बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। तो इसके लिए सबसे सुरक्षित सच्चा रास्ता ये है कि जनता सड़कों पे आए, मोदी जी का इस्तीफा होना चाहिए, प्रेसिडेंशियल रूल लगना चाहिए पूरे देश में कुछ देर के लिए, और फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन होने चाहिए पेपर बैलेट से। ये इस देश का सलूशन, इस देश को मजबूत करने का सबसे अच्छा सलूशन है। अगर मोदी जी पेपर बैलेट से जीत के आ सकते हैं तो दोबारा प्रधानमंत्री बन जाएंगे, क्या क्या परेशानी है। पर अभी उनको इस्तीफा देना चाहिए, और जो हालत हो गए कि लोग इस्तीफा देने को मजबूर हो गए इलेक्शन कमीशन में, ये जनता की डिमांड अब आने वाली है, ऐसा मुझे लगता है।
I think it was a great conversation. I think I'll let you fight on the Indian roads for saving this democracy. Both of you have been fighting a long crusade for a long time since 2014 through Citizen Commission of Election and through your own efforts, Mahmood Prakaji. So congratulations. We want to wish all the best from Indian Overseas Congress, and I think we will see the light in the tunnel. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
on a short
Thank
notice.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.